Welcome witches to today's video. Typically I don't film my TBR jar picks until the end of the month because that's usually when I'm doing them. However, for this month I want to do a monthly TBR video. With that we need to pick out our TBR jar picks, and I did look up some spreads. Since I finished a long run, it's going to be 4 books, which seems like a lot, but I figured out a 4-card spread. Mind you, I'm not a tarot card expert. Love to learn tarot cards, so if you have any recommendations on good books for actually learning tarot, I'm just intrigued. Anyways, long story short, let's do our tarot spread. So we have our picks. The first one is short and sweet. Choose a book under, it says blank pages. I'm going to say under 200 pages because that just seems like a short and sweet book. So that's one of them. The next one was a standalone. Choose a book unbound by series, so a non-series book. Another one is going to be a series progress, continue a journey, picks next in the series. And then the oldest I own, the relic of your shelf. Choose a book lingering the longest. Let's look into what our options are, and I'll be right back. I had started filming my explanations and reasonings for my book, and my camera wasn't recording. If that shows us how this is going to go, we're off to a great start. Let me start over. So the first problem was short and sweet. I said under 200 pages. However, I don't have one under 200 pages. The closest I have is Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker. This is 204 pages. I think it's close enough. We're going to count this. This is following 2 little boys. One is like super predictable. One is super unpredictable. They live kind of in the same time, place, etc., but they don't ever cross. However, one day after school, they end up going over the stone wall into the up and under, and that is how they come to be in the same place. A. Deborah Baker is a second writing name. I cannot think of the word. Pseudonym doesn't sound right, but maybe it is right. For Shauna McGuire, I really love her Wayward Children series, and this is giving me a little bit of a Wayward Children series with maybe a Stranger Things vibe included in it. The next one was Standalone. Choose a book unbound by series. That one's pretty easy, just any one that I want, and that's going to be Sign Here by Claudia Lex. I got this for $1 at the thrift store last year, and I've been really excited about it. This is following a man who works in hell. He's trying to get one more person in this family to sign over their soul. Things obviously aren't going to go right. It seems like it's going to be dark. It's going to be humorous. It's going to just be a great time. We're going to go with that one. The next one is a series progress. I need to choose a book to continue in a series, and I'm going to choose I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin by Caddy Brent. This is following a woman as she gets mixed up with bad men, and they all end up dead. And it's really humorous. It's really funny. This is the second in the series. I read How to Kill Men and Get Away with It last year. I absolutely adored it. There is a third one coming out this year that I'm super excited for. This was a 5-star prediction, if I didn't say that already. I think it's another one that's has a dark undertone, but also just really humorous. Another one is The Oldest, A Relic of Your Shelf. This is a book that I have had on my shelf for a really long time. I haven't read. I go through phases where I want to and where I don't, and that is The Change by Kristen Miller. This is following a woman as she's really had a lot of change in her life. Her husband has died. Her twin girls have gone off to college, and she is starting to hear voices. She realizes they're the dead, and there's a magical undercurrent, kind of a figuring out that maybe she has some magical abilities. Is there a history of it, etc.? That one. So that will be our TBR jar pick, and when I start reading it, I will jump back in here and catch you up. Good morning. We are giving our first update on multiple books this morning. We went to this new, side note before we get into the books, we went into this new breakfast restaurant, and it was so good. They had this hot honey bacon. My oldest loved it. Anyways, they had really good gravy because it's like a biscuit. It's called the Big Biscuit. Anyways, long story short, what was delicious, when the bill came, it was like $100 for us. And mind you, some of our meals came off the kids' menu. It was just like twice as expensive as our normal breakfast place. We do not go eat breakfast all the time, but occasionally, maybe once a month, we'll go have a breakfast in the morning just when runs and schedules meet up. Anyways, we are home now. We have coffee. We have laundry started, and it is not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. So productivity at its finest.
With that being said, one more productivity. I think I've got the stickers. This one's kind of got a little residue off my books, which is quite the task. We're going to go into the first book update, which was for the prompt Short and Sweet, a book under 200 pages, and that was Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker. This was technically 204, but the first chapter doesn't start till page 9, so it actually fits under the 200 pages. I started to read this in the beginning of the week. This is so short. It just took a few hours to read, and we busted through it. I really did enjoy this. I think in my intro I said it's following two boys, but it's actually a boy and girl. So there's Zib Hebzibah, which I think her name is so cute. There's a point in the book where the little boys, let me start over. Hepzibah, or Zib, is kind of this carefree, adventurous child. She really wants to go on an adventure. She wants to have fun. She wants to live her life, a little bit more carefree. And then there's Avery, the little boy, who is definitely loves his structure. He loves his math. He loves the black and white of the world, or the portions of the world that he thinks he likes his structure. Very different children in every sense of the way. And one day on their way to school, there's like a gas line break, and they have to go a different way. And they both end up together going over this wall, and now they're in the up and under. It reminded me a lot of like Alice in Wonderland in the way that they talked, some of the characters that they involved. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed there's a portion where Avery asks what Zib's name is, and he says Zib, and he says, well, that's not a name. She's like, well, it's my name, so it's a name. And he goes, what's your real name, or something like that. She's like, well, Hepzibah, but I haven't grown into it yet. I think that was kind of a moment that Shauna Maguire showed about the different worlds that these kids grew up in. Zib really grew up in a world of creativity, of fun, of becoming your own person and kind of growing into who you're going to be. And her parents were like, well, as you get older, you'll become Hepzibah, but for now, you're Zib. Where Avery is, your name is Avery, and almost like an adult from childhood type of thing. Although they talk about he was kind of sheltered in another book that he didn't realize there was no money, and so he like didn't put that together. But for a kid who was sheltered or like didn't have to want for anything, like you can kind of expect that he could go through this entire world, this entire adventure, and take time to figure out that, oh, there is no money in that. So I did think that this might give me a little bit of Stranger Things vibes. I would not say, I think it's the up and underworld, the up and under word that gave me the possible Stranger Things vibes. However, this is not why this is middle grade. And I think it reads middle grade, and not in a negative way. For a middle grade, I think this had a lot of depth, a lot of layers. It was a great story that I think the kids fit it really well. And I also think this was like a really great introduction into the Wayward Children series. We do talk about the drowned girls. Following the improbable road, they meet the crow girl, who's this little girl who can turn into a murder of crows. And I just really like the writing, the very fairy tale aspect of this, and the play on words, like they're on the improbable road. So if it's improbable, then it's probable. And just those like plays on words that I think you see a lot in like Alice in Wonderland. With these being so short, and I had the second one in the series, we went ahead and read the second one. We actually went ahead and read the entire series. I had actually just bought the last two on the book outlet sale. However, they're not here yet, so I had to read those to the audiobook, which is fine. They're all like super short. The audiobook took just a couple hours. This one's even shorter. It's 191 pages. This is following them along their journey. They were going along the improbable road. However, they are now with their journey. They have ended up in the belly of a beast. A little bit of Moby Dick. They're on a ship. They're trying to get to the improbable city for the Queen of Wands, trying to figure out how to get away. And they did say in the first book that you cannot leave without the other, and so that they know that despite how different they are, they have to stay together. This is just following along in that story. The third one is Into the Windwracked Wilds. This one is really cute. Now they're kind of up in the air going on their discovery and going in different places, and the wind talks, the wind has moves. They're learning more about the world of the up and under that they're in. They're each both growing in their own ways. They're having fun. I think this is fun that at one point one of them asks, well, what, we speak English? And she's like, I'll put it on up here.
I thought it was in the Wind Whacked Wilds. God, is that a tongue twister? But that was wrong. It was actually in Along the Saltway Sea. But one of my favorite parts of the story. Is there anything in the Up and Under that doesn't speak English? What's English? Asked the Crow Girl. Avery turned to blink at her, too stunned to speak for a long moment. When finally he found his voice, it is to say, the language we're all using, it's called English. No, it's not. Why would we speak a language called English here? Who are the Ing? Where is their country? Said Avery, the English people live in a country called England. Zib and I live in a country called America. It was colonized by the English a whole bunch of years ago, and they left their language behind when they left. Why did they leave? Asked the Crow Girl. We got tired of them being in charge of us, and so we fought a war against them, said Avery. That's what people do when they don't want to be colonized anymore. They fight wars, and if they win them, they get to become their own country. But are you really your own country if you're still speaking English, even after the people who taught it to you are gone? Weren't there people in your country before it was colonized? Did they speak American? Why didn't you go and learn American from them after the English left? Um, said Avery, suddenly uncomfortable. I think it's because the English killed them all in order to take their land. Oh, said the Crow Girl, you speak the language of murder. No wonder I like you so much.
And I just thought that that was kind of funny. So there's some different conversations and stuff about that, and I think it was hilarious. The last one is Under the Smoke Strewn Sky, the final adventure that they go on. You really see how each of these characters have grown and they've changed as they're coming back into this world. I think it was really sweet. I think that it was very well done. I liked that you got time in the world. It was very much just in the world. Whereas, like, the Wayward Children series goes back and forth. And I think that this was a great, like, get into a middle grade to kind of go up into the YA. So I think that she did a fantastic job with these books, and I highly recommend. I think the length was right. I like that each story, while added to its story, still felt like a new world, new element, a new thing to learn about. And I really enjoyed it. So not only is this vlog have a ton of books already, we added in 3 bonus books. So we have finished the entire Up and Under series by A. Deborah Baker. And I would recommend, especially if you are a fan of the Wayward Children series. And I think my son would like this as he's getting a year away from middle school. That's hard for me to process. You know, he's an avid reader. He's actually really getting into mystery thriller, which is fun. He's been loving this new book that's out and this new author and just loving telling me about it. And I love it. Let's go into the book we're going to be reading today, which is Signed Here by Claudia Lux. I have started, I am on page 70. This has elements that I'm liking and elements that I'm not liking. So I think I've read enough that I can tell you at least some initial thoughts. But this is following peyote, which as they go to hell, they lose their names, but yet they're still important. So they get these like nicknames, and his name is Peyote Trip, which is hilarious. And it's opening up his time in hell. I think it's funny. I love the hell aspect of it, the world that they're doing. It very much reminds me of the scenes or the vibes from The Good Place, where, you know, the hell people have come in and done that. And I'm really liking that. However, we do go into Lily or Mitch's viewpoints, which Lily is the mom who's definitely has some secrets and some history of her own. And then her daughter, Mitch Harrison, is like a teenager, but she's maybe not having such a good time in her school. I think she's a sophomore or junior, but she's recently made a new friend, and they're going to their dad's like family's cabin. So there's definitely some connection in there. However, the problem that I'm currently having with it is you have this very like kind of, I don't know if camp's the right word, but like very humorous yet dark moment when you're through the viewpoint of the people who work in hell and all that. I think it's hilarious. I really want to feed into that. But then you go into Lily or Mitch's viewpoint. Mickey. I knew Mitch didn't sound right, so I just checked. Mickey. Lily and Mickey's viewpoints. And the problem that I have is they read very differently. They read very much more of a traditional mystery thriller. There's something going on. They're not necessarily funny in any way. And it kind of keeps the very drastic change in the kind of humor and style is getting me. I almost wish, which is going to sound weird, but I almost wish that we saw everything through Hell's point of view and got that, and we really leaned into that dark humor. We could still have the dark stuff, we could still have the mystery and intrigue, but we really leaned into that. And so far, that's kind of lessening the enjoyment for me because they just feel like two very different books that are coming together. It feels kind of jarring. So far, all that we've seen is we're seeing Peyote as he's explaining the world of hell and how you get through the different levels of hell. We've learned maybe why he wants to get this trifecta, the importance of the hell employees remembering their name. Hell is not brimstone and fire in the way that you think, but just a slight, as it says, like a slight agitation all the time. But it's not like, oh, be slightly agitated for the rest of the day or the week or for the lifetime. It's like an eternity of just that like grating sandpaper of agitation every day, all day. And I think that that is hilarious. I'm really liking that aspect. And then we're seeing Lily. Lily definitely has her secrets from her husband. They are high school sweethearts. They have two kids together. They're going up to John's family's cabin. My guess is that Lily is not truly in love with Silas, with the dad. There's more to that story. He is trying to get their souls. Oh, and I also think it's hilarious that at one point they ask, like, well, did you tell them what the cost of giving up their soul is? Not talk about the Harrisons, the family we're following, but just in general. And they're like, well, it's in the terms and agreements. And so you need to read your terms and agreement. I think that's hilarious because who actually reads the terms and agreements? But they talk about like people talk about contracts are hell. They don't know how right they are. And I think that's funny. Again, I'm really loving the aspect through the hell employees' point of views, but not so much the mix. I have been rambling on for far too long. Oh, by the way, this is for the card that we pulled, which is standalone only. Choose a book unbound by series. That's why we are reading this book. Let's go ahead, lock in for the day. It's still chilly before we go do our long run. Maybe flush out the sinuses, and let's get back to reading.
We have made it to the 75% mark of Sign Here. We are just about to start part 3. I'm having to rely very heavily on the audiobook because it's the only way I can keep going. Like, I don't usually listen to audiobooks on my run, but I need to go run. And this is one way to knock like an hour of time off. I can keep doing run chores because I fear if this is one that I really set down and force myself to read just by the pages, I wouldn't finish it, which says a lot. Also, on a side note, I just got done running, I showered, and I didn't feel like putting like a full face of makeup on, so I tried to like kind of halfway, and I feel like all I did was wash myself out. So if I look like a hot mess, as usual, I am. But let's go over Sign Here. So what I really liked in the beginning was all the humor, all the funny stuff, but the more that the book goes on, the farther we're getting away from that. It feels like two stories still, while they are starting to connect and some of the twists are pretty predictable as you're going, you can be like, okay, I can guess this one, or I can guess that one, etc. I'm losing what intrigued me about this story. It's just turning into kind of a regular thriller with an occasionally a hell side workers in it, which don't get me wrong, I enjoy, but it's just like they're even losing their funny. So it just feels like the story is changing drastically and they feel so different that it's a hard time to, and I'm struggling with the writing. Maybe is it like not the writing necessarily on their own in each story of like Lily and Silas, or Cal and Peyote stories. They just feel so different, but now they're coming together, but they felt so different from the beginning, and there's so many things happening, but I don't feel like necessarily is layered in a way that I'm particularly enjoying. So I have like a couple hours left on the audiobook. I just got done with my run. I have some chores to do, some laundry. I'm going to go finish that, see how much I can get of this read. Honestly, if I don't manage to find a way to get this done tonight, I will probably DNF it. However, I'm so close to the end that like I don't want to DNF it at this point. Leandra is still doing sprints, so that will be another motivator to do it. I have some spreadsheet work that I want to get done, so maybe I will do that while I listen to it so I can feel like I'm not wasting my time. Then I haven't decided which one I will go into next, but after I read this, I will let you know. So let's go see if we can get this finished out.
We finished Sign Here by Claudia Lux. And that ending made me kind of mad. Like, that was the entire buildup to the entire story, and that's how you're going to end it? So anticlimactic. Anticlimactic in the hell way. Again, like I said, if they would have kept like Lily and Silas and Sarah's story their own separate entity from um Peyote and Cal's calamities story, I think it would have been better because they didn't read the same. And then you're expecting, or at least I was expecting, like eventually they're going to, if there's such a tie in, eventually you're going to have this connection, right? And tie in really well. And I thought the tie in was very weak. I think overall it was very poor. I think they would have been two stories. It should have been separate, not, it just didn't work for me. It was quite the letdown. Again, there was not necessarily something wrong with the writing. It was just that Coyote and them, like, it was so humorous. It was so funny. The pens never work. Your coffee machine, is always broken. The slight agitation, the very good place vibes of it. And as you're going on, you know that there's these deals and they kind of show you a little bit about this. And then it just kind of, I think it was quite the let. Very sad and disappointed in this. But I think I'm going to read I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin by Caddy Brent tomorrow. It's super late right now. I'm so ready for bed. But I wanted to make sure that that book got done so I didn't have to bring that energy into tomorrow. So we're going to start this one. I'm choosing this one because I absolutely adored the first one. It was dark, it was humorous, it was kind of what I was hoping from Sign Here. Just I was expecting Sign Here to have a little bit different elements, maybe a little bit darker, a little bit more serious elements. We're not that this is serious, but it just reads a little bit more lighthearted, funny, talking about kind of serious subjects. So I think this is the what I'm gonna do. It also will continue a series. It'll get me caught up. The next one I think comes out in November. I'll be ready to read that one. This was also a 5-star prediction for 2026. So again, I think I'm gonna have good vibes. I mean, she's holding wine that looks like blood. Her shadow is a scythe. I'm going to start this tomorrow and I'm going to bed. I know my watch only says 7:30. We're an early household here. I didn't sleep very well and I ran kind of sick. This whole ordeal. Time change is happening this weekend. I know, excuses, excuses. You don't need to hear them. You don't care. It has no effect on you. I'm gonna go finish getting ready for bed, take off a little makeup I do have on, and go relax. I think I'm gonna catch up on some YouTube tonight because I saw quite a few really good videos get posted today.
I'm trying to utilize the natural light of the window. I just think it's prettier. Sometimes that can get a little harsh because I'm not that great with the lighting and I'm too lazy to set it up. Also, I know I'm not like putting myself together very well for this vlog, but that is life. And we have literally been sitting in this chair with a dog or cat. I did shower, clean up, change just to feel a little bit more human because that should happen. I also haven't been feeling the best today. And reading the change, I am right here. I'm at the dangly. How the other one is kind of like my get to by the end of the day mood point. Jeez, brain is mush. It's beautiful outside though, and the kids want to go play outside. So I think a nice change of scenery will be good. And because we're going to change scenery, why don't we do a quick book update? Because I am obsessed with this book so far. Mind you, we have hit the 105, yeah, 105 page. And it's like almost a 500-page book. So, I mean, we're like a fourth of the way through. And I'm loving this. This is almost what I wish Sign Here would have been, which was it still had really dark moments and conversations, but there was still the humor and like the darkness and the snarkiness of it. And this is giving me all of that. So there's 3 women. There's Nessa, there's Joe, and there's Harriet. Yeah, Harriet. That for some reason that name sounded wrong. And there are all these 3 women who have some kind of power. They're in their late 30s, early 40s, which is fun as somebody who literally is coming up on her mid 30s. No, late 30s. I'm like on the cusp of my late 30s. I'm turning 36. Okay? Mid-30s, late 30s, doesn't matter. It's on the end. And that's coming, and it's just fun to see this because they do talk about motherhood, about growing up as a woman, expectations in career, especially careers where it is a extremely male dominant career, which obviously in engineering, that is me. And I just am obsessed with this. I think they're snarky. I don't want to say they're like rude and have this kind of assumption about all men because they do have, some of them have bad relationships, some of them have good relationships, some of them have almost developed this indifference to their husband. One of them has left their husband for cheating, and she was super powerful, and she still is, but she's kind of regaining who she is. And there's another woman whose husband died, and she still hasn't quite lost that love for her husband, but yet she understands kind of the danger that men are. And then there's Jo, who's has a very strange relationship with her husband, in the fact that like she understands that she's the breadwinner and he's got his own things, but like at the same time she kind of doesn't care. But they have this kind of friendly banter, but I guess the point is, long story short, they all kind of have this real world view of what men are, but they're not necessarily like what some traditional books would make them, like a jaded man hater in all aspects of the world. And I really like some of the topics that they touch on. This thing is like, these women are snarky. They make the most offhanded, hilarious comments. Sometimes when they stand up for themselves in situations, you're like, that's what we all wish we could say. And yet they do it. And you're like, damn, that's not graceful. Like, why can't I be that just like together in life? Anyways, I'm absolutely adoring it. We're at the point where Harriet, Jo, and Nessa have all found each other. They found the first body. There's definitely more to it. They haven't identified the body. They are understanding that there is more bodies. They understand now that each one has their own unique power. And somehow all those powers are going to come together, create some poetic justice, I have a feeling, because we're definitely hinting at a lot of that. I'm loving pacing. I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the banter of the women, not just with each other, but with everybody. And Lucy, Jo's daughter, is hilarious. Let's keep reading and let's have a change of scenery. Let's
Okay,
go.
let me give you an update about the change. We are almost to the halfway point, like pretty much there. We haven't quite hit the 300 mark. We are at 220 out of 470. My enjoyment and love of this has not changed since I started. I am just really enjoying the characters. I think each of them has their growth. There's twists and turns in not like what I would consider a traditional thriller twist where it's just like something crazy and wild. It's very twisty and like an almost realistic way. Their use of like magic, if you will, is very like realistic. That you're like, oh my gosh, this is life. So to me, I'm like, I guess you could call this was in my fantasy section because I thought this was fantasy. But I don't even know. I would just say this is like thriller with like a little bit of a fantastical element. I think this is absolutely great. Again, I love that the characters understand that there's still good men in the world and they recognize that, but they also understand that the world is kind of against women in the corporate world in their safety. I also love that they bring in the different race elements into this because Nessa is black. So she has a different viewpoint and a different effects than Harriet, who is a very typical, beautiful white woman. Then there's Jo, who's a redhead, and she's a runner and she's fit, and so that has that aspect to it in the sense that people look at her like in a very sexualized way and like that's her body. Sorry, the cat and dog decide at this moment that they need to be noisy. So forgive me. Anyways, I'm just loving this. We've gone to the place where they've discovered the bodies. They understand that there's more. They believe there's a serial killer now. So Jo, Harriet, and Nessa are trying to figure out who it is, do their own investigation. Their bluntness and hilariousness just cracks me up. Hello, we have a guest here. Say hello, Piper. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay, hello. Anyways, I'm just really enjoying the characters. Each one of them is growing in a different way. They're bonding in a different way. They have different things to add to the story and the value. Some of the side characters don't just feel like a random side character. It seems like there's a lot of value that they're adding, and they are all well developed, and I think it's fantastic. I can understand now why this would be that way because every character, even like ones that you think are going to be so minor, are still getting fleshed out enough. And it doesn't feel like too much. It doesn't feel like there's too many characters, anything like that. Like it still pays really well. And these women are some snarky women and they say some of the funniest things. I have literally laughed so much with this.
And with that being said, while I've laughed, like there's been some really heartfelt, heartwarming moments and some really sad, like back to reality moments. And I think that the author is doing a really good job of handling that. So let's get back to Nicola Sprinting. We officially finished the change for a 470-page book. We flew through this. Normally, a 470-page book, especially doing all actual physical, would have taken at least 3 days, and I read this in 2. This is following Harriet, Nessa. Sorry, my light's doing something weird. This is following Harriet, Nessa, and Joe as they are each kind of at a different stage in their life. They're older in their lives. Nessa's babies have gone off to college. She had twin girls. She's lost her husband a few years back, and the quiet has set in. Then there's Harriet, whose life kind of imploded, but she's coming out stronger than ever. And then there's Joe, who her career has imploded, but she definitely has a good network system or support system between her husband and her 11-year-old Lucy. I think all the characters in this are so well fleshed out. Even the side characters are so well fleshed out. I think this had such humor. They are so kind of snarky in the best way, in the funniest way. Harriet is hilarious. I also feel like they were very real. There was very sincere moments, very sad, deep moments. It was a very heavy subject. Was probably one of my favorites for this year so far. I just think this was such a great experience. The topics of men and how dangerous men can be. It's kind of like you want the man or the bear. And in this one, you choose the bear. Also enjoyed that not every man was just this terrible, horrible man. There were still good men in there, and they could recognize that. The characters could. And I just think the writing on this was great. The pacing on this was great. There is magic. It's very subtle. Towards the end, it definitely grows to like a crescendo at the end of it, which all felt great. It felt like it flowed. It didn't feel like there was too little or too much magic, and I absolutely think it was amazing. I loved it, and I would highly recommend. Now we truly are going to go finish out this one. I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin by Caddy Brent, because I know this is another one that we're going to have a really great time.
My hair really fun to play with. Okay. Put my hair back. Okay. Ah, let go. Let go of my hair. Pooper. Let go. Stop it.
Blew it out on accident with his breath.
Okay, and then you're supposed to touch that into that middle metal part. Okay? Middle part, guys.
This is indoor
And
fireworks.
it will, and then
Are you gonna do it?
3.
And if it doesn't blow up,
There it goes.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Why are we so close? Why am I? Oh, God.
Ryan and
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
You literally got a letter on there.
You ready? Happy birthday to you.
Put your phone down, Bill.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear
Madison, Ryan, and Julian.
Happy
Happy birthday to you.
Okay, everybody blow.
You know this is singing happy birthday.
Not yours.
Is it? You can hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
What up, Jill?
Ryan, Madison,
your
you guys
birthday.
can blow too.
I did one. It's official. We all had a birthday.
Jill, kids. Join
Okay.
in.
I
Someone out
was just doing my short review for this and realizing that I never really talked about this at all. I read this. It was quick, it was fun, it was easy. I like that Kitty is finding out that maybe she's kind of doing a little bit more self-reflection on like, hey, I'm the problem. She's trying not to kill more men, but yet she can't resist. I also like that we're getting to see her relationship with her mother because through part of this, she goes off to France because her mom's getting married and she suspects that her mom's boyfriend isn't safe. She's trying to build this relationship and this trust with Charlie, her boyfriend. And I really like all of that. I also think that the author did such a fantastic job in the way they wrote Blaze Bundy. Let me tell you, that was like, he's not hilarious, but it was just so on the nose for like those typical, like, super manosphere women are useless. Like, they're just there for the men type of things that you see on TV, and the humor, the fun, the enjoyment. Like, I can't tell you enough that this is absolutely worth it. If you liked How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, you're not going to be disappointed. It doesn't lower in quality, it doesn't lower in value. I think it adds to the story, and I just think that it was such a good time, and I would highly recommend. So that is it. I will clip in if I've messed up and missed any of these because I feel like this has been going on forever. 4 books is a lot in one vlog. It was fun. We had some good ones. We had some misses. One miss, really. We had 2 excellent books. That's all. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of these, what your thoughts are, or again, any book recommendations that you ever have. I'm happy to see them down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, witches.